Africa, stop pretending. This continent isn't divided by borders, it's divided by our own ignorance. Now look at ourselves. We talk unity every day. We shout one Africa. We preach Pan-Africanism. But when it comes to the simplest test, letting Africans move freely across Africa, we hesitate. And yet, a few countries have already made a move. Ghana is the latest to expand visa-free access for Africans, joining a small group that includes Rwanda, Benin, the Gambia, Seychelles, Niger, Mali, and Sao Tome and Principe. But let's be honest, this is not a continental movement yet, because across Africa, free movement is still slow, inconsistent, and heavily debated under frameworks pushed by the African Union. And the reason is not simple. Security concerns across regions, weak border systems, economic pressure between neighboring countries, and growing mistrust between African states themselves. All of this sits on top of a bigger question. Is Africa struggling to unite because of external influence, or because we have not solved our own internal divisions? Because right now, one Africa sounds powerful, but in practice, it is still a vision waiting for action. And that is what we are unpacking today.
But then, Gaddafi brought the idea of a united Africa. What did they tell me? He's a dictator in his country. They killed him, they eliminated him. Patrice Lumumba, not Patrice Lumumba, sorry, PLO Lumumba. He said that when the delegation from the African Union was sent to Yaoundé to come and address the insecurity in the Northwest and Southwest regions, once he saw the way the Cameroon government received the people, the group of people who came to come and ask the delegation from the African Union, when he saw the way the Cameroonian Yaoundé received those people, received that delegation, he knew that mission had failed.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he knew that mission had failed. And how did he know? Because the Yeah. So, Rogers, what I want us to discuss today is massively important, especially when it comes to Africa and unity in Africa. So for years now, we've been sold the idea of a united Africa. And that idea of a united Africa, some countries have started implementing it, but other countries are reluctant and resistant to the application of it. So with this in mind, I don't know, what do you think about a united Africa and Africa without borders?
When we were talking and you just coming to United Africa, I just sat and I started asking myself that how can us as Africans be born in this part of the continent and we don't really have free access to go through around our own continent? It is actually crazy. And when you want to think about it, that all these laws and all these immigration policies that is going on in Africa. But I think to answer your question, I want us to go back to how all of this started. In the Berlin Conference, I think it's 1885, where the colonial bodies, they came together and they wanted to divide Africa for their own political problems, for their own political gains. And that is exactly where the problem came from. And today, when we hear immigration policies in Africa, we are actually relating that to that time where Africa was divided, and now we are now here to solve the problem of this division. So, United Africa is a dream that hasn't started today. It is not today that it has been singing, and even of recent, I think in the African Union, is it in 2013 when they wanted to do a United Africa. I don't know why I did this. I just love doing it. When they wanted to do a United Africa and the African Union came together and they saw the United Africa in the vision of 2063, 50 years from 2013. So it is actually something that we really need to talk about, and we really need to understand why all this is happening, and even why or how or to what extent have they gone to about the uniting Africa. So I think that the dream uniting Africa is something that all Africa should sit down and actually start implementing, not only the leaders but all us as the people.
Yeah. I mean, in 2018, if I'm not wrong, they actually really sat down and they came out with the idea of, for the start, they want at least 15 countries to open the doors, which from our knowledge, we know of 5 countries so far who have opened their doors, with
Exactly.
Ghana being the most recent, who are opening their doors actually this May 2026.
Exactly.
So considering that that is 8 years ago, from 2018 to now, where they actually really decided that yes, an open borders is going to be very beneficial for the whole of Africa, not just for economic growth, but for trade, for security, for a lot of things. For Africa to have one mouth when it comes to the international community. That's 6 years ago, or 8 years ago rather. But however, just 4 countries, or let's say 5 countries, have actually put that in place. So do you think that this dream is actually something which is going to, yield any fruit, or is going to, be positive? Or do you think it's just a dream, like you said? Is it just a dream, or will it actually happen?
Well, if you want to talk about it being just a dream, I think I'll beg the differ because it has actually worked in some part of Africa. Look at the ECOWAS. Look at what they have done so far. And I think that is the only body in Africa that have actually put down these policies, and they're actually working towards making Africa one. Like you see in the ECOWAS, countries that belong to the ECOWAS, you see that they have free trading and their citizens can freely move and work with visa free in those countries. I'm not talking about, how Africa talk and just talk and don't implement. This is actually what is happening right now as we speak. So it is a dream that it is very much realistic. But coming to think of it, a lot of African countries are not there yet, because now we are thinking, or most of us are thinking in the term of security, not long-term growth. You see, most African countries right now, we are looking at, especially, I'll just give example in Cameroon. I don't think we are in that state of mind where we want to open our borders because of what is actually happening in our country right now, in Boko Haram and the Anglophone crisis that is going on right now. So now most countries are focused on how to have security, rather than thinking of, okay, if we open our doors, we have people coming and maybe it's going to cause more security, we'll not be able to handle it. But I think it's something that is real and it can be done. And it has been tested through part of Africa, which is the West Africa, and it's actually a good thing. So that's my opinion. What do you think?
I think it's a whole lot of bullshit that it will never happen. It will never. I don't think it will occur for some of the reasons which you've given. There are a lot of insecurity in Africa at the moment. You have in Somali, you have some in Cameroon. Nigeria is suffering with Boko Haram as well, including Niger itself. And, we know about what's happening in the world in general. So the people who are actually the leaders of the world are fighting somewhere else. The people who we think are the ones that are going to facilitate, that kind of transition or encourage it, they're fighting. They're fighting, and we say the world is united. The world is united. Why are they fighting each other? So if you're thinking about it in that aspect, you know that Africa will never be a priority to the West. And if Africa is not a priority to the West, they will never think. Because what is going to happen once this war is finished, they're going to be looking for resources in market.
Exactly.
Or a mine where they're going to come and mine resources to build up communities. Where do you think those resources are going to come from?
Home.
From Africa. So if those resources are coming from Africa, do you think that the West will want Africa to have one mouth? Because if Africa has one mouth, if this actually occurs, then it means that when these countries fight and they need resources to build back their countries and their nations, Africa is going to be saying that, no, we are not giving you our resources. We're going to stand together. And whose detriment it is for? It's for the West. It's their detriment. So I don't think the West will ever allow Africa to become united and become one. They are going to delay it. Let's not even just go far. Let's go like somewhere very simple. And for me, this is one of the main reasons, which I think it will not work. Right. Let's go to one of the most successful countries in Africa, South Africa.
Okay.
Just in 2008, 2015, some years behind, where the xenophobia was really massive, where South Africans were butchering other
Nigeria.
Africans in their country.
Okay.
Right. And that's not even with the borders open. Because with open borders, what we're going to find is African countries which are not more developed, who are less developed, who are less economically developed, they are going to be finding themselves moving to
Is that
countries with better
yeah?
economy, like Cameroonians moving to South Africa,
Uh,
like Nigerians moving to South Africa. What has happened? They are killing them. So do you think that with such a thing, one country that we know will never open its borders is South Africa? Because their country is not visa free, but they are killing people who are coming there. So they will never agree.
all right. First of all, my brother, never say never.
They will not agree.
Okay, we don't know the future. Talking about the West, how did they make EU? It's the same thing as we are trying to make AU. The African is trying to make AU. Yes, there will be a lot. They have a lot of interest here back at home. And another thing you should take into consideration is, in as much as things are the way they are now, we are wising up. Look at what is happening in Burkina Faso with President Traore. We are wising up. Africa is one step further every day. And Ghana did not just wake up today to open its borders, or Rwanda. It's something that was always been one thing that Africa has always been fighting for. So Ghana is now taking the lead in opening its borders. We don't know the next country that will follow its footsteps. We don't know if it's going to be risky or beneficiary to Ghanaians or the country, but we are there, or we are here to us do it. We even talk about ECAS or CEMAC, the subgroup, or however it's been put or however it's been placed. It was created for that purpose. So I think as we as we go into the future, a lot of these policies will be brought up. A lot of these cities, treaties, or whatever will be created so that we see the goal of Africa being one in the future, the same as we have United Europe. So I'm talking about the West, they will try to fight. They have always done that. Always in the dawn of time, since the scramble for Africa, they have always done that. But we have seen that in as much as they have, things are changing. And I believe that things will equally change in the future as we are going. The slavery ended.
Slavery ended because the white man decided for slavery to end. It did not end because Africans rose up and decided that no, it's enough, enough is enough. No, it ended because the white had benefited everything. In fact, I can even give you a history of why I believe it ended.
Okay.
It ended because Britain, when it came to stopping slave trade. So what happened was British, they were the leaders in the slave trade market itself. They were the first people to start the selling of slaves. Well, not the first, but we know that they were the ones that were taking Africans and taking them to the Americas.
Yeah.
So when they took them to the Americas, America started becoming united. The United States of America started forming. What did Britain decide to do? They started seeing that, oh no, because these guys are using this slavery to benefit their economies, they are going to rise up against us. So they decided to start the fight against slavery. Fortunately for them, they won. Unfortunately for them, America joined. But unfortunately for them, it was already too late because the Americans had already gotten enough economic growth from slavery that they were able to push the British out of America. So it ended not because Africans decided that no, enough is slavery. It's because they saw that if slavery and slave trade continued, it was going to be to their detriment. And to stop that from happening, although it was a little bit too late for them, they had to fight against it. And now they are bragging a little bit that they ended slavery and slave trade. I do agree with you that there is a future where Africa will be united, but it's not going to be when the two of us are alive.
Of course, it's not going to be today, it's not going to be tomorrow, it's not going to be the next week, because the mentality of colonialism is still there, rooted in us. That's the mentality. Even in our leaders, it's still there. I'm talking about, okay, it's all this is politics. All this is politics. And I think the more African countries that rise up to say, okay, enough is enough, the more our freedom will be assured in the future. We are just seeing Burkina Faso, and ever since that, okay, they stop slavery and slave trade, and they give Africa its sovereignty. Things are beginning to move, even though we all know how in the background this Africa to develop their own country to
Yeah,
be.
I mean, you give an example of ASU, how it's developing, or how they decided to, for their country to become theirs.
Yes,
But do you see the West treats Burkina Faso? How do they look at them? They look at the ruler Ibrahim Traore as a dictator. They don't
exactly.
look at him as somebody who wants to free Africa. And the trend which we are, it's happening. Something that happened already in Burkina Faso with the killing of Sankara, where
Exactly.
he was already uniting his people, and he was kicking out foreign
Yeah.
interest in his country. They killed him. It's a little bit difficult now because Traore has learned from the mistakes of his predecessor in Sankara. But then Gaddafi brought the idea of a united Africa. What did they tell him? He's a dictator in his country. They killed him. They eliminated him. So, and we all know, or a lot of people believe that the reason why they killed Gaddafi was not just because of, the people of his country complaining of, not being free and lack of freedom. One of the reasons is because he was talking about a united Africa. A currency backed by the gold which is produced from Africa.
Exactly.
So anybody who tries or who might stand, we don't know. Yes, like you said, it might happen, but I don't think it's going to happen anytime. The way Africa is at the moment, with the control of France, with the control of Britain, with the control of America, with the control of China, I don't see these big powers of the world allowing Africa to unite.
Like I said, it is going to be a struggle, like every other thing in life. Before there is no destruction, or there is no infrastructure without destruction. It's going to be a battle. And the thing that we can see now in our time is there are people that are actually seeing that vision. There are people that actually want that change, even though a lot of other poorer African countries are just trying to survive, are just trying to see if they can have security, or they can have maybe good border policies. But you see the other stronger, a little bit stronger nations are actually seeing that change, or they're actually seeing the vision of that change and trying to implement it. And that gives us hope, even in as much as we are not seeing it like, oh, it's a big change, but it gives us hope. Ghana has taken a step. We don't know the next. We don't know the next other countries that will be okay interested in opening their borders, and it's just the first. Oh, sorry, it's not just the first, but it is just a step that is going towards that goal. I don't know if we'll have a united Africa in 2063. Don't know. I don't think so, but we are getting there. In the days that we go, every day in the days that we go, we are getting there. So opening the borders in Ghana is just part of the problem. Sorry, not part of the problem. It's just part of the
process.
process to get there. Don't disagree with you that okay, the West is going to fight Africa. They have always done it, and they are going to twist the narrative. That is why personally sometimes I have the way I look at news. When I listen to news, I have the way that I read it, because I just judge from what I listen or I get from the news that I get out there. So it's the same thing. They are going to always going to try to get what they want from Africa. But trust me, I believe in one Africa one day. And I believe in the fact that Africa is going to rise up. I don't know when, but they are going to rise up to fight back. Because not just go and take this, or we cannot just go and they grant us, or we grant ourselves for one Africa. We have to fight for it. And the fight like has begun or has been going on, even though they try to we have seen in our leaders that they try to suppress, they try to, when someone wants to speak up, they try to kill the idea of one Africa. But there is a possibility, and I believe in that possibility. even though I'm not seeing it right now, but I believe in it.
I mean, yeah, Ghana has opened its doors. Rwanda had already opened its doors a while ago. We also know about Niger, we know about Mali, we know about Sao Tome and Principe. But if you look at the caliber of those countries, I think the two countries with a strong economy is Ghana and Rwanda.
Exactly.
Yeah. So if you say yes, these countries have tested it and it has worked, do you think that if a country like Nigeria or a country like South Africa opens its borders, the population which has migrated into Rwanda and the population that has migrated into Ghana, do you think it's going to compare to the population that is migrating into those countries?
Of course not. It is not going to compare because when you look at South Africa, it's one of the richest and developed countries in Africa. If they open their borders, a lot of people will try, they will get in. That is why, for instance, when the ECOWAS came, they had a group of, what is this, active military, I don't know how to put it, active military that they actually were in control of security and anything that has to do with crime. And I think South Africa will be I'm sorry, not like crazy okay, but they have infrastructures that are already in place that they can actually help to reduce some of this immigration if they allow open visa. I understand the xenophobia that happened in the past. Yes, and I think that South Africans will not. I don't know about the future, but I think that they will try as much as possible for that to not happen again. And you're right, especially even if I was in Cameroon and South Africa opened its borders, of course I will be able to migrate there because I want to look for something the same as every other person or a lot of us. But the idea here should not be if you're looking at the points where it's going to create a big problem in the future, like in the security, in crime, and maybe housing and a lot of things. I think there should be these bodies in place that will try as much as possible to reduce that in a
Yeah,
way.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you. But let's look at the leadership of Africa. We are expecting the African Union to be the ones leading this initiative.
Exactly.
But do they have the organizations that they've put in place to handle it? Yes, we know of maybe AFRIPOL, the African police, but the African police does not enforce borders or they do not actively go for crime. AfriPolice is just, how do we even call it? It's a networking organization at the moment. Because
Exactly.
let me have a look at the African police is for. So according to what I have, excuse me a minute.
Yes.
Yeah. According to what I have, it actually says that the AfriPol, the African police, its mandate is not about operational status. Like for example, if they open the borders of the whole Africa, at the moment the African police, the AfriPol, are not there to like maybe work with local authorities in different countries, maybe to stop criminal organizations. What are they there for? They are just there to listen to what other people have to say about their countries and their security and then give advice. Is that police? That's not policing. So for Africa, if Africa wants to open its borders, of course they need a security border, a
Exactly.
security organization, which just like Interpol can move from one country to the next country to solve criminal activities that are international or intercontinental. So if AfriPol does not change to ensure that that security is put in place, which is supposed to be headed by the African Union, who are actually doing absolutely nothing to ensure security in Africa. They're doing absolutely nothing. Then these borders or open borders will not work because what other countries will be afraid of, which I'm sure Ghana is afraid of, but they are taking the risk. What they are afraid is another criminal organization from another country carry weapons and bring it to their country and cause chaos. And although Ghana has its own security, they might need external support, which at the moment, nobody can offer them that support. The AfriPol which exists will not give them the support. We only say, okay, come and tell us your problem, just as they're doing for us in Cameroon.
Exactly.
Yes, Cameroon goes to African security conferences, and he's telling them what they are doing to solve the Boko Haram crisis in the north and the Anglophone crisis in the northwest and southwest regions. But have you seen any of those institutions coming to help? No. Patrice Lumumba, not Patrice Lumumba, sorry, PLO Lumumba, he said that when the delegation from the African Union was sent to Yaoundé to come and address the insecurity in the northwest and southwest regions, once he saw the way the Cameroon government received the people, the group of people who came to come and ask the delegation from the African Union, when he saw the way the Cameroonian Yaoundé received those people, received that delegation, he knew that that mission had failed.
Okay.
Yeah, he said he knew that that mission had failed. And how did he know? Because they rolled out the red carpets and those people were happy and they're broadcasting them in the media. How the delegation from African Union, those guys felt important. And so because they felt important, now what they're going to do is they actually forgot about their mission. They were there in all the wines and whatever they were giving to them.
Yes.
And forgot about their mission. And what happened from there? There was nothing. They carried nothing to the African Union. So the organization, which is supposed to enforce the borders and ensure that this process of opening Africa works, they're not enforcing anything. They're doing nothing. So if Africa has to have open borders, we need to have an organization that is leading it. Other countries, single countries can open their borders, but without that coordination, without that head, the person that has that vision, without that head, making sure that that project runs, then it will never happen. And the African Union is not in the position to Africa at the moment. Who did they listen to? They listen to Europe.
Come to think of it, the Organization of African Union, that is, what is it? Organization.
I think they named to the AU, African Union. It's not still the Organization of African Union.
Exactly. The main problem that the OAU did not have was the fact that they did not interfere when there is conflict between or in countries. That is why they abolished it and they did the African, now it's called African Union, to revise that problem. And I think you have a point in the sense that we don't have an organization that can actually be put in place to go into these countries and actually do one or two things. But I think where this is coming from is the countries themselves. They have restrictions when it comes to maybe an organization coming in. I think that is where Africa has to fortify their rule in the sense that the government of a country has when it comes to some aspects in security, they don't have power. The African Union police can actually just come in and do whatever they want to do. Not whatever they want to do, but they are restricted in some level, right? But not in all aspects, because what the Yaoundé did, they actually just, okay, you guys aren't coming. We don't have anything. If there was that restriction that they could just actually go to the regions that is having the issue, not passing through the government always, then we would have seen a change. I think when we want to talk about this, we should actually understand where this is. We should actually understand how the African police could actually work.
Yeah, I understand. You are talking about the security in Africa, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so yes, there are international policies about other organizations being involved in conflicts of other countries. And just like other countries getting involved in other countries' businesses, yes, we know about those international laws and that we know that these are restrictions. Those restrictions exist. Let's take, for example, when Russia attacked Ukraine, what did the international community do? What did the UN do? What did the US do? What did Britain do? Britain locked all of their assets. The US locked all of Russia's assets in America. They imposed fines. They imposed tariffs. They put a lot of things, like they closed their access to the International Monetary Fund. They cannot borrow money easily. So if the African Union, which I believe has maybe have the power to put those sanctions on countries, maybe tell them that, okay, you're not going to have any say in whatever we do.
Sure.
You're going to be paying X amount of fine. These are your exports are going taxed at 50%. Don't you think it's going to put a little bit of pressure? But are they doing that? No. They send delegations to countries to go and ask, okay, what is happening? Do you think those people are going to tell you the truth?
Of course, they are not going to tell us the truth because of the way the system has always been, and that is why we are we are we are trying to make people wiser to understand that there are a lot of things that has to change, but it has to change with the way we think and the way our leaders equally think. And politics is something that we cannot understand in our level the way that it is being done. And I understand or I believe that there are a lot of laws and policies that are actually in place to make sure that if a body like the African Union, or sorry, African Police, like you say, if a body wants to invade another country, it should be there are restrictions. Because if they actually give them some kind of power, they might abuse it. That's another thing you should look out for. They might abuse the power and just go in and, or if there is a conflict, a small conflict that two countries can, oh sorry, a country can actually just solve, they might abuse the power and get in and do whatever they want to. So I think in as much as, yes, the African Union has to have that African police to put that in place, but you should actually look at the laws or the policies that will be put in place to actually guide that body to existence. The African Union and the African Union 2063, it just started 2013, and there are a lot of things that are changing. There are a lot of things and are in play. We cannot just wake up and we have all this figured out. It is through this consistent, maybe changing, consistent coming together to talk about the problem and actually doing something about it. But we all know that it has been slow as the years have been going through. There have not been real or some exciting change that is happening in Africa. But the fact that Ghana has just decided to be like, okay, let me do this. A question that I had for you is, do you think the move that Ghana has done, do you think it is something that it is going to be a win in the future, or is it is actually a bad decision?
I mean, Ghana has its reasons to open its borders, mainly because of they want to be maybe a hub for tourism in Africa, just as you have the billboards that says visit Rwanda. And they
Exactly.
also want to have the billboards like visit Ghana, which is not only going to be economically beneficial for the tourism sector, but it's also going to be beneficial for their own economy because you're going to have businesses opening up in Ghana.
Exactly.
So for Ghana's interest, it's good. It's good, but Ghana has to be careful that the wrong people do not come into the country. The wrong people do not come in to, maybe destroy their borders as everybody is worried about that and take over. Because in the West here, we have how, immigrants are coming to steal
Our job.
our jobs and all those things. Ghana should not maybe complain tomorrow that immigrants are coming to steal their jobs. But for me, I believe that Ghana is a very, very respectable country in Africa. We respect Ghana. And when they say they've opened their borders, I'm already planning to visit Ghana, which is really, yeah, it's good for them because it's going to boost the economy. That's tourism. So yes, it's a way forward. It's a good way forward, not just for Ghana, but for Africa as well. But then for it to be successful, we need to put things in place, structures in place to make sure that when other countries start opening their borders, just like the 5 other countries that we've mentioned, once they start opening their borders, these countries are safe and will not close it. Because if anything starts happening, they have Boko Haram moving into Ghana, Ghana will close its borders because its people must come first.
Exactly. And that is why a lot of African countries, like I said earlier, are not there yet. And I don't think they will be there in some time because they are struggling to fight what is within. Like example for what we have in Cameroon, they are struggling to see how they can actually eradicate the Boko Haram and the crisis that is happening in the northwest and southwest region. So opening their borders now will be a lot of pressure that they have not even struggled to solve what is internal. And we have other African countries that are very poor when it comes to their economy. And they think maybe opening their borders actually, or maybe some other, maybe good African countries, I'll just put it like that. They are afraid that if they open their borders like South Africa, a lot of us will just go in there and the economy will go down. So looking at it in a context of win for Ghana, I think it is actually a good idea that they are doing this. And in the context of if they are doing this, if they decide to open their borders, it means that they already have structures in place that will have to fight when there is actually a maybe, like you said, the Boko Haram or a terrorist group going there. I think it's not a decision that was just, okay, let's open it for the reasons that are good. They are actually prepared for any other thing that comes with it. Yeah, so that's what I think. Africa is doing good. Never say never. We will see Africa in the future. The Africa that we have of is coming. So I think that if I want to say anything at the end, I think that there is a possibility that Africa will be united in the future. And there is a possibility we are already getting one passport. There is a possibility that that will happen. And there is a possibility that we will be freely strolling around, I say strolling around Africa from one country to another. And it is going to actually be united one day.
Okay, I get your point. So, well, we've been sold the African dream. We've been sold a united African dream. And I do hope that a lot of people believe like you. But I think for me, I still need a lot of evidence and a lot of, I have to say a lot of things going forward before I believe in such a dream. But I hope everybody follows your lead, It's always good to have a little bit of faith.
That is hope.
It's always good to have a little bit of hope. Let me not kill your hope. Let me not kill your dream.
No, don't worry. You'll join me.
I'm not joining you anytime soon. Let the African police be formed. Let's see the completion of the Trans-African, is it road network?
Yeah.
Which is going to run from north, south, east, west, from wherever. I think it's about 9 road paths that they want to create. Let's see how that goes. And then we can now start thinking of United Africa.
Africa. Evidence-based, Abi.
Evidence-based, of course.
It has been an amazing session. I think that we have discussed, actually touched some key points in our discussion, and I'm happy that I'm having this conversation with you. A lot of us out there, we are not used to talking about politics, especially in us back at home. We are just focused on surviving. And if we try as much as possible to put this information out there and make sure that a lot of people just get the information, I think it will be good for our society. So this is the Wise Up Africa podcast, and I hope that this message will reach every youth out there that is trying to move on with their life.
Right. So thank you. It was nice again to talk to you, and we will meet again hopefully next week.
Yes, next week.
Right. Stay safe, and guys, please please, if you've reached the end of this video, just click the like button and hit the subscribe, just so that it gives us that encouragement and that motivation to do another one. It's very important to boost our morale. It's not easy thinking and talking. So when we do something like this and you see it and you watched it, please don't just go away. Click the like and click the subscribe button. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of the week.